My daughter lied on my wife. Original post. I, 36 male, made a mistake of marrying the woman I got pregnant at 19 years old. We divorced when my daughter Kay was 6 months old, and this relationship with my daughter and ex-wife has always been strained. I take most of the blame because I was a 19-year-old idiot just winging it through with life, with no purpose or sense of direction. And to my ex's credit, she quickly got herself together and got an education while handling most of the parenting. I know I messed up in my daughter's younger years, and that's nobody's fault but mine. Apparently, nothing I do or say now will make up for it. And now she's 17. She's a beautiful, smart, witty, well-mannered young woman, and is 95% because of my ex's parenting. I love to brag about my daughter, but I would never take credit for how she turned out, as our relationship is incredibly strained. Now, my ex is essentially forcing my daughter to spend every other weekend with me, my wife, 30 female, and her little sister, 3 female. My wife and I don't mind at all. In fact, my wife was so happy with this arrangement that she got her parents to take our 3-year-old on Saturdays, so my oldest daughter doesn't feel like her whole weekend is lost to a toddler. And now Kay stays with us Thursdays to Sundays. This particular weekend, my wife's parents went to a wedding, so toddler stayed home. My 16-year-old was visibly upset by this, so my wife took toddler out for the day to keep the peace. That wasn't good enough for Kay, because my wife would usually take Kay out for brunch. And since toddler was out with my wife, Kay and I went to lunch where she complained the entire time about how her whole weekend is ruined and she wanted to go home. My response was that life is inconvenient sometimes. Later that night, Kay's vindictive side comes out, and she told my ex that my wife hit her. So my ex showed up to my house and called the cops and was screaming on my lawn that she was going to press charges and assault my wife. The cops showed up. Everyone is confused and crying as my daughter is begging to go home. The thing is, toddler wasn't feeling well, so my wife slept in the toddler's room since about 7:30. The baby monitor proves it. She didn't even leave to use the bathroom. We showed the cops this after my ex leaves with Kay. I apologized, and a cop who was super understanding said that he would speak to Kay and my ex a little for wasting their time. I don't know what he said to them, but Kay called back and was apologizing and wanted to speak to my wife to apologize. But my wife was not having any of it. Won't speak to Kay, and I don't blame her. But my ex is calling my wife immature for not speaking to a teenager who's trying to apologize. My wife has emotionally closed herself to Kay now. She also stopped contributing to Kay's college fund, and this hurt Kay the most, as my wife makes pretty good money, and her chances of attending her dream school were much better with 3 parents saving for it instead of 2. This incident was 2 months ago, and Kay's attitude towards my wife has gone from get lost to love bombing. But my wife just doesn't want to be involved at all anymore, and is offering to have Kay visit weekends again, but her and toddler will stay at her parents until Kay leaves. My ex is blaming my wife for not forgiving Kay for lying, while my family's divided, saying Kay made a stupid teenager mistake and shouldn't be punished with losing out on education. I won't make my wife interact with my daughter, but I'm also not going to contribute double to her college fund, which is what my ex is demanding. My wife, my ex and I were contributing equal parts, and my ex's new husband contributed nothing. I feel like my wife is being treated unfairly, but siding with my wife is making my relationship with my daughter worse. So I really need some objective insight here, because I have no clue how to fix or manage this. Edit, I can't respond to every comment, so I'll address some of the repeated stuff. I am fully supportive of my wife removing herself. I wouldn't dream of forcing her to be around someone who accused her of physical harm. She is volunteering to spend weekends at her parents'. I'm not asking her to leave our home. Kay and toddler have a great relationship. They enjoy each other. My wife's parents take toddler on Saturday as a favor to us, but they were more than willing to do this because they love spending time with her. For those saying I'm not involved enough in making sure my daughter faces consequences, she does not live with me. If I try to get involved with how her mother is disciplining her at home, I will promptly be told to buzz off. I'm currently trying to have an adult conversation with my ex about how serious this could have gotten, and that I won't let this be swept under that rug. But every time I bring it up, I'm blocked for 3 days. I haven't given up though. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Daughter is learning the lesson of not biting the hand that feeds you. I would remain firm and honor your wife's wishes about not being around when your daughter is. What your daughter did is not just teenage drama. It could have resulted in CPS becoming involved and your baby being removed from your care. What she did is some serious stuff, and I would not hesitate to allow the consequences to flow. Sounds like money's what's driving this offer to reconcile. Sometimes sorry isn't good enough. A daughter needs to learn that. Ex is just looking out for her own financial interests, because the more you and wife chuck in, the less she has to. I think the severity of what she did needs to be reiterated. Your entire new life, your growth as a person, and your new family's future is something that she has shown a willingness to put in jeopardy. You need to stand your ground and make it absolutely crystal clear that such attacks on the future of your daughter are beyond unacceptable and will be dealt with accordingly. As a new parent, I commend you on even speaking to her after what she did. I don't know if I would have it in me to do the same. Yes, and it's great you're helping her save for college, but it is not a requirement. She's lucky you're helping with anything. She is ungrateful and needs to understand how she could have really hurt your family. Your wife needs support from you, and I'm sure she's deeply hurt. Don't you dare pay more than your share. Maybe your daughter needs a job so she can start saving too. Kay messed around and found out, didn't she? I don't blame your wife. If there wouldn't have been a baby monitor to prove she was in the toddler's room the whole time, she could have had child abuse charges brought up against her. Your daughter's spoiled game could have ruined your wife's life. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't allow the girl over again. I would have you see her outside of the home. She needs help. This 100%. Your daughter doesn't seem to understand how horrible it was of her to do this. No, she does. But now it hurts her financially, and that's terrible. Sorry, but at 17 she was fully aware of what was happening. And honestly, that kind of criminal manipulative energy scares me. The teenager card is not going to fly here in my opinion. I think your wife's reaction is absolutely right. In a way, she is protecting herself, your marriage, and toddler from these kinds of actions. And I do feel your 17-year-old daughter should be held accountable for her actions at this age. Most legal systems do, by the way. I think your wife and you are teaching the 17-year-old daughter a very, very valuable and important lesson. There's a good chance she'll be able to reflect on everything and genuinely will want to do better and step up her game. But until then, I applaud your wife and you for not taking the conflict-avoiding easy road, but the healthy road. Now for the update. Hi all, I'm here to give an update because I have gotten many messages from concerned folks and I am really touched. First off, thank you all. I didn't expect that response and all the great advice I got. I also let my wife read the post, and she feels grateful and validated because this situation was making her question her sanity. Another thing I want to address is some of the nasty things said about my daughter. Not cool. I don't know how many of you actually have kids with your suggestions. This is a horrible situation. It was really out of character for her. But I love my daughter and will always support her. That does not mean I can't acknowledge when she's acting like an a-hole. I got some very nasty messages and had to block several people because they decided to go full-blown internet troll. So after some long conversations with my wife, she said she would be willing to have contact with Kay again and possibly the college fund. I said no to the college fund. I would prefer my wife not contribute to Kay's education at all. Over the past 5 years, my wife has contributed about $14,000 to Kay's college fund, and I was ready to transfer all that money back to her, but she declined and is content just not contributing anything else. I finally got Kay and ex-wife to agree to a serious talk after threatening to pull that $14,000 out of the account. That's how I got some truth out of Kay. She has a boyfriend. Ex-wife knew and didn't tell me. And the weekends in my house were meant to keep her away from the boyfriend and friends. That particular weekend, there was a party that Kay wanted to go, and ex shut it down completely. Ex-wife told Kay not to tell me or wife because we would cut her off, which is completely false. Ex-wife had to admit that's why she did it in front of Kay, and she was beyond angry. Then when it came time to address Kay using her stepmother in a lie that could have potentially landed her in prison, she started to cry. I believe she genuinely feels regret about her actions. She just said she wanted to go to the party with her friends, and since she couldn't, she said whatever she could to get her mother to react, because she didn't think I would allow her to go. Apparently when Kay's home, my ex keeps her inside, and she can't see her friends on weekends or after school because ex-wife thinks she should be inside. Ex got frustrated and stormed off and didn't want to continue the conversation. I had no idea my daughter was so isolated at her mother's house, and her mother manipulated her into thinking that my wife and I are the manipulative ones. She feels much regret about what she said about my wife and understands why my wife wants to keep a distance. But my wife loves Kay and wants to slowly start building a relationship with her again. However, that still leaves the issue of what is happening to my daughter at home. She has explicitly said she is not being verbally, physically, or any way abused. She's just isolated and not permitted to do much. I think this is because when X was Kay's age, she was out of control with her partying. I knew her then, and she was wild. I told Kay she has a place at my house, but she wants to stay home. It is close to her school and friends. She just wants her mom to ease up some. They're working on it. My ex knows that we are onto her BS and has been playing nice. We will see how long that lasts. I reiterated to Kay that this one particular situation with her lying could have ruined many lives and has greatly impacted her own life because her dream school is now out of the question. Any conversation my ex tries to start about college money, I tell her we can talk about it after her or her husband deposits $14,000 into the account. She hasn't brought it up again. Until then, I will keep making the same contributions. I think that Opie handled this well. Kay's old enough to know better for sure, but she does seem to be realizing how badly she screwed up. Yeah, it was a mistake for sure, but it is also not surprising to see teenagers lash out when they are being mistreated at home. Socially isolating a teenager can't be good for her mental health. Teens tend to lash out at anyone without giving more thought to who it's impacting. The ex-wife sounds like a real piece of work, and I'm glad Opie is stepping up to be a good parent. To be honest, as a victim of abuse, I can say that Kay was calling for help. In situations like that, you really don't know better. And the only thing you think of is, how can I change it? Especially when you are a teenager and your perception hasn't fully formed. Kay's reality is based on what mother and stepfather portray, not on her experiences. Most victims think about, how can I change the situation? Not how can I get out of here? It's a flight or fight response. My thought was that she accused the stepmom because she sees her as a safer option who would continue to love her after the fact. But if she called out her mom, she didn't feel like she would ever have the same relationship after. Like it's easier to be horrible to the people who love you sometimes because you feel safer with them. Good for Opie requesting the ex's husband, Kay's stepfather, contribute to the college fund. Why should a stepmother be expected to contribute when he isn't? I feel sorry for Kay, being restricted so much. And her mom fails to realize that putting those restrictions on her is so likely to make her lash out and misbehave, which is exactly the behavior mom is trying to prevent. For all the talk that Kay's mother was responsible for 95% of her parenting and is the reason why Kay grew up to be such a wonderful woman, it certainly sounds like Opie's ex is maybe not as amazing of a mother as he made her out to be. Last story. My stepmom thinks my dad and I are in love. My dad, 50 male, and my mom, 45 female, got divorced when I, 21 female, was in first grade. My sister, 18 female, and I have been doing fine going between houses since then. Then a few years ago, my dad met my stepmom, 50 female. And it was amazing seeing him so happy that he finally met someone who loved him as much as he loved her. They got married 3 years ago, and ever since then, she's acted different to me. My dad and I used to do everything together. He'd take me to his work, we'd have dad-daughter dates. He took my sister and I on family trips with just the three of us. My stepmom threw away everything that resembled my mom when she moved in. My jacket that had my dad's company and mom's name was thrown away. Pictures from my parents' wedding went missing. She starts crying and screaming when we talk about life before she came into the picture. Now she just accuses me and my dad of having an inappropriate relationship, which is not true whatsoever. He's not allowed to be home alone with me. We aren't allowed to go hang out together without her. I was wearing my snow gear as we live in a pretty cold area, and she accused my dad of looking at me sexually. I was in a giant snow pants and a huge coat. Heaven forbid I sat on the same couch as him. I was happy that he found someone who loved him, but I feel as if I'm being pushed further away from him. I tried to be nice to her because her own kids barely talk to her anymore, but I'm finding it really difficult. I cry every time I visit because those two just end up in a fight about me while I'm here. I know he doesn't want to start over, but is staying with her worth losing your relationship with your own daughter? Edit. I want to add that my stepmom and I had a good relationship before they got married. We went shopping, exercising, and much more together like we were best friends. The issue started when my maternal grandma passed away 1.5 years ago, and Mom moved in with my grandpa who happens to live 5 minutes away from my dad. I told her I look like my mom all the time, so it could be because she's threatened by my mom somehow, even though both of my parents have said that even if they were the last 2 people on the planet, they'd rather die than repopulate with each other. Edit 2. I just wanted to answer a few of the questions I've been receiving. 1. Her boys, 27, 25, and 22, had some communication but not a lot. The 2 eldest come over once a month and for holidays, while the youngest hasn't been back for about a year. They all still contact my sister, myself, and my dad regularly. 2. My dad has tried to go to therapy with her, but it never works out from what I hear. He's had his heart broken by my mom really bad apparently, and had a hard time getting back out there to date. So he really wants this to work out with my stepmom, and takes his vows for better or for worse, in sickness and in health seriously. He wants to help her. 3. The photo albums and items that belong to my mom, he was saving for my sister and I when we got older. For example, my mom and dad kept their wedding rings, and the day my sister and I both graduated, we got a new piece of jewelry formed out of both rings that they melted and put together. He didn't look through them. They were in a box in the basement labeled "For the girls when older." 4. I'm not trying to make excuses for my dad's behavior because it's annoying, and I wish it would stop. To be called horrible names and treated like a burden hurts so much. Hopefully I could answer your questions. My dad's birthday is coming up, and I plan on giving him an album of old photos of his past that don't include my mom, so he can look through a few pictures of my sister and I when we were younger. But I don't know how it's going to go at this point. Wow, super weird. She sounds mentally ill. I wonder why her own kids don't have anything to do with her. Yes, truly baffling. I'm so sorry you have to go through this, but I think you really need to tell your dad your feelings on this. You should be his priority, not your stepmom. It also might help telling your mom about her as well, and trying to get her to help you speak to him alone. I told my dad that my stepmother was pushing his first children out to provide for her own children. He didn't believe me and ratted me out of her. She played a heartbroken trying mom for a while, until she managed to push us all away from dad. It was always her plan to push